Everybody, welcome into another edition of the Windy City Breakdown podcast. Tony Andracki, joined here by Kyle Millinowisch and Andy Martínez, as always. Guys, we said we were not going to do another pod until the Cubs won a game. I thought maybe we were never going to do another pod again. This looks pretty bleak there for a little while.
It did. Yeah, I thought we were done podcasting for probably ever, or for a very long time at least. I thought this podcast was very, very short-lived. Thankfully, we're recording Thursday morning. The Cubs won, so we are able to podcast again. That is the most important thing with the Cubs victory, that we are able to podcast. It's crazy just how bad the Cubs looked during this stretch. I was covering the game against the Astros, the Saturday game, the second game of the series, and that was about as bleak as a Cubs game as I've covered since probably 2022, when they were still rebuilding. It felt like a chore watching that game. The offense was not good. They gave up an early lead, and you were kind of like, well, how the heck are they going to score 3 runs? How are they going to score 2 runs to tie or win the game? And they still struggled. They got swept by the Astros, and then they lost the first 2 games against the Pirates. But like, the offense for that 10-game losing streak was really, really bad. And Kyle, I know you tweeted out the numbers. Some of the numbers were just absolutely insane with just how much they were struggling.
Yeah, Kyle, take us through some of the numbers from Windy City Breakdown. Like what? Yeah, they were the worst offense in baseball. They were the worst pitching staff in baseball for basically a 2-week stretch, right?
Yeah, like what the and bad defensively. It made the tie for the third most errors. It was just like every single number you could find. It wasn't even hard to find numbers. It was just like they're just bad all around. The amount of home runs, I think they gave up 19, which was second most. What else was there? And the amount of home runs they hit at 8 was like second least. It just was like absolutely everything about it was just crazy. The fact that they had 2 separate 10-game winning streaks within, what did I say earlier? It was like
39 games.
They had 2 10-game winning streaks and a 10-game losing streak in a span of 39 games. Like, that's just insanity. That might be one of the craziest like facts or stats you've ever heard. Jesus.
Heard. Well, in May, because they won 8 of the 10 games in the last winning streak in May to start off. So they almost had a 10-game winning streak and a 10-game losing streak in the same month. And we still have a few days left in the month. It has been absolutely crazy. I will say, so we're recording this Thursday morning. They are about to face Paul Skeens tonight. So Wednesday evening, they get out to a 3-0 lead, and I really don't have a rooting interest, but I did not want to, like Andy said, it's tough to watch. I did not want to continue to watch losing. This was the toughest stretch since that 2021 12-game losing streak, 11-game losing streak, whatever that was, that franchise-altering losing streak. I just didn't want to keep having to watch Cubs baseball where they were this bad. They go up 3-0. Jameson Taillon gives up that first pitch homer to Brandon Lau, 3-3, and I was like, oh boy, here we go again. And the Cubs are going to have to face Paul Skeens again on Thursday. Like, this thing could hit epic proportions. Do you guys feel that at all watching Wednesday's game, that Taillon gave up the 1-game tying homer, and then PCA doubles gets them at the lead again, and then gives up another game tying homer?
I thought even when they went up, what was it, 9-4 or 8-5? When they took the lead for good, I was like, well, there's still question marks in the bullpen, right? Like, the bullpen hasn't been like this lights out bullpen or anything. So like, this thing isn't. Once they got to like 10-4, I was like, okay, like they should be fine. They're probably going to snap it now, like 99% chance. But yeah, definitely, like, it's kind of one of those things until they get like a 5-6 run lead, and maybe even then you're kind of thinking like, well, how are they going to blow this? Because there's been so many question marks with the pitching staff.
I'll tell you what, when Brandon Lau hit that 3-run homer, I was like, these motherfuckers. that was my first thought. And then, of course, PCA gives him the lead with a double. And then I don't know if it was that next half inning or that half inning after, Connor Griffin goes oppo in the first row. Like, this is just like insanity. But I don't know. Maybe it was the fact that Ian Happ hit the 2-run single in the first, where it looked like they were potentially going to have bases loaded, nobody else, and not score. It just seemed like there was maybe this is just, hindsight's 50-50. I know that's not the right saying.
But those aren't the right numbers.
Yeah, I know. Like him coming through in that spot, and maybe it just had a different feel. That obviously it's like poetic that he hits the 3-run shot. Was that in the 6th or the 7th?
I think it was the 7th.
Top of the 7th.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
We had just started a watch along when I was at CHGO last night. We just started a 7th inning watch along, and the Cubs scored 5 runs.
Nice. Congrats on the watch.
Does that mean you have to do more watch along? Yeah.
That's what they were saying. Yeah. Yes.
Congrats on the watch along. But yeah, it was great to see them finally one go through the hoop. But man, I don't know how they lost 10 in a row. Seriously, I keep going back to that, but like, what the fuck?
What's crazy to me about, like, if you could go back and you go to the middle of March or the beginning of spring training, and you mentioned this part of the schedule, right, where there's the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, the Dodgers, the Padres. You're starting division play really in May. So you're talking about this 40-game stretch that they've been on, right? And you said they would go, I guess, what would the number be? 23 and 17. Like, you would probably take that, right? Like, over 500. Are you fucking kidding me?
We'll just keep
That,
going.
like, if you told them they would go 23 and 17, like, that would be, you would take that in a heartbeat, right? Like, you mentioned all these tough teams that you're playing. You mentioned the schedule that you're playing. You include the White Sox in there. You go 23 and 17. And I got to do the math in my head while I'm talking. That's a really, really good stretch. Like, that's above 500. That's a really, I can't do the quick math on my head of like
6
what kind of win
games,
pace
yeah.
that is, but like 6 games over 500, that's a good pace. The way they got there is what's concerning, right? Like, you go 20 and 3 in one stretch, and then you go 3 and 14 in another stretch, and you're like, well, what the heck is going on? Like, that to me was what was concerning, is like, you look like the best team in baseball for a good chunk of it, and then you look like, are you even going to make the playoffs in another stretch of it?
Can you recall a team being this streaky, having, and not to say it's like this extreme with 10-game winning streaks and a 10-game losing streak, but just overall, whether it's like 5 games, 8 games, anything like that? Can you recall a team being like this streak? I mean, you like when you think of streaks, like I think of Alfonso Soriano immediately. Like this,
You think of hitters.
yeah, right. Like he'd get red hot and ice cold, but a team to have like this, variance in that short period of time is like absolute insanity.
Right. Like, you don't have a team that has like again, looks like the best team in baseball, like, by far, right? Like, they are kicking the crap out of teams. They're going to pinch pinch hitters for pinch hitters, and it's working. They're going to bullpen guys that haven't pitched in the majors in two years or whatever, and they're getting saves. Like, everything is clicking. It's like, oh, this is what I said it on the podcast where I said, this is a Milwaukee Brewers team, right? Like, this is
Yeah, they had that voodoo magic.
right. Like, they were doing everything that the Milwaukee Brewers did. And then you look at them and you're like, well, who the hell are these guys? And what did they do with the team that was playing 2 or 3 weeks ago? I don't recall a team being this streaky as the Cubs have been during this stretch, where, again, they look like the best team in baseball and then they look like the worst team in baseball. You can say that as hitters, right? Like, we've seen it with Ian Happ. I think that's why Cubs fans get frustrated. Ian Happ is probably the streakiest hitter. You mentioned Alfonso Soriano. Like, Ian Happ is probably just as streaky. But you don't see that with teams. Like, usually if you're a good team, like, maybe you'll go through a 3 or 4 game losing streak and then you kind of bounce right back into it. But it's like 3 just spans of 10 games where you win 10, you lose 10, you win 10 is just absolutely incredible. Obviously not in that order.
Yeah, it's either way. What's the reward for winning 10 or for finally winning one? Here comes Paul Skeens, Mr. Dunn. Shove it right through him.
I was joking with some of the other reporters when they lost, like, or when the Pittsburgh Pirates series started. It's like, these aren't your Pirates of the last few years, and the matchups were lined up perfectly for Pittsburgh, right? Ledzinski game 1, Braxton Ashcraft, who's been really good game 2, Bubba Chandler, who has been very up and down, was once a top prospect. You knew there was potential in him, and
but
then
he still throws 100 miles an hour.
Exactly right. Like, he's still really, really darn good. Like, he's gonna figure it out, and he's probably gonna be just as good as some of those other guys in the rotation. And then obviously Paul Skeens. And then you look ahead, but the St. Louis Cardinals, who not only are your rival, but are also playing really, really darn good baseball, and I would argue the surprise of Major League Baseball. That's a pretty darn tough stretch that they are going through during a losing streak, right, Tony?
Yeah, I think so. I will say one thing. I was popping in and out bad. We're recording on Riverside, and for some reason, as the host, Riverside is just going under right now. But you were saying, I came back and you were saying Ian Happ is one of the streakiest hitters. I disagree. I think Seiya Suzuki is the streakiest hitter on the Cubs.
Yes, true.
It's insane. He will have stretches where he looks like the single greatest hitter on the planet. He looks like Shohei from the right side, and then he has stretches, which he's in the midst of one right now, where he looks like me up there against big league pitching, and it's just he had some swings last night. He had some just like some of the balls he's swinging at, some of the swings that he has even on pitches in the zone just look weird and off. And he did have a line drive single to center last night, but like they need to get him going, man, because he is the streakiest up and down player. It's insane. And they all are. It's nuts. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm curious. Like, I wonder how much of it is like the impending free agency, right? Like, I would argue if he's right, he's probably, and maybe not probably, he is the best hitter on the free agent market in this winter class. Like, the class isn't great. Like, he's gonna get paid by, and Hap might, yeah, right. And so he's gonna just look at the class. Like, we're not exaggerating when we say those two guys are probably gonna be the two top hitters in the market.
That's so gross.
But with Seiya, like, I wonder how much of that is weighing on him, right? Like, Tony, you and I were there that first season in Chicago when he was putting the weight of the world on him. And like, I remember talking to people with the Cubs afterwards where he was, after a game, he would take like 100 swings in the batting cages after games to try and figure out what was going on and
like,
why he wasn't.
Calm down, big boy.
Yeah. And so like you wonder if he's putting, like, knowing that, hey, if he has a good year, not only do the Cubs do well and he becomes a key piece in a playoff run, but then he's also going to get paid. Like, I wonder how much of that runs through his mind. Oh, and by the way, like, you are replacing the guy that they made this massive trade for 2 off seasons ago. You're essentially replacing him to try to be the focal point of this offense and replicate what you did last year. Like, I wonder if that's putting a lot of pressure on his shoulders to try and live up to everything that, the outside expectations that are on him.
It could be. I think this is kind of who he has been, right? Like, you look at some of his monthly
but it
totals,
feels more extreme this year is what I'm getting at.
It feels more extreme right now, absolutely. Because last year he was incredible for 3.5 months, and then the All-Star break hit, and then he and PCA just completely cratered. And they, I mean, Seiya had what, 80 RBI or something, Kyle, you might remember, by the All-Star break, and they barely got over 100 last year. Like, he limped his way down the stretch for like 2.5 months. So I do agree, Andy, that this does feel extreme, and it didn't feel extreme for Hap. I feel like before this losing streak, with runners in scoring position, the numbers weren't great, but Hap was off to the best start that he had been, I think, pretty much in his Cubs career. He was notoriously not always not as bad as like Bregman is a slow starter, but Hap has always been kind of a slow starter, and in the power department for sure. I mean, he's had the team lead in home runs the entire season. He consistently was drawing walks. It's just more recently when the entire offense, basically outside of Michael Busch, has slumped. Ian Happ has slumped as well. And then you get Happ hitting 4, say hitting 5, and these guys with runners in scoring position are not coming through, as we detailed in the last pod. They're 2 of basically the 10 or 20 worst hitters in all of Major League Baseball with runners in scoring position. That changed a little bit last night, right? Like, Ian Happ had 2 huge hits with runners in scoring position. 2 of the biggest hits of the Cubs season, maybe even 1, 2, just given the like magnitude and the amount of levity that they brought. And I said this in CHGO last night, but like, did you guys see the reaction, one, from Hap, who is very rarely shows any emotion, but 2, like the bench shot that Marquis showed of Nico and all those guys, like basically jumping over the railing when he hit the homer. That looked like the weight of the world of a 10-game losing streak being lifted off their shoulders. And I am really curious if this helps out a guy like Seiya or Hap, or like just the mental load that is now off of them for getting off the schneid, scoring 10 runs. They only had 9 runs in the previous 6 games, by the way. Like, if that helps them at all, if that means something to these guys, if they're not, clenching so tight when they come up with runners in scoring position, like, does that carry over? Or, again, we're recording Thursday morning, does Paul Skeens go out and shove it down their throats and bam, the Reds pick where they were?
Yeah, I mean, those are all fair questions. Those are all fair points. Like, I asked Craig after the Saturday game when I mentioned against the Astros, when I mentioned they looked as bad as they did, like, how do you kind of balance trying not to, like, obviously you want to improve, but like you want to make sure you're not pressing too much, because like I think that's been one of the criticisms, and maybe fairly so, from fans, where it's like these guys don't look like they care and they're not worried about the losing streak. Like, I think they were definitely worried, and the relief that you mentioned, they were definitely worried about the 10-game losing streak and wanting to win and pissed off about the situation. But clearly, as we've seen, these guys are this is a clubhouse where, whether they're on a 10-game winning streak or on a 10-game losing streak, for the most part, the personalities and what they're saying is relatively the same. And I get it. Like, that's not what fans want to hear. Like, they want to be pissed off. they want them to be pissed off. They want them to be yelling and throwing. And like, I get it. Like maybe they should have been a little bit more during the 10-game losing streak, but that's just not what this clubhouse is. And like what Craig said after I asked him that on Saturday, he said, this is the job. Hitting's hard for everybody. It's not your first slump. You stick to the things that have gotten you out of them. You stick to the things that make you good, and you keep trying to reinforce that. The challenge is to stay with that when the results aren't going, when you're not getting the results. It's 2 weeks. We've struggled for a team as 2 weeks. It's frustrating. It's still only 2 weeks. We're going to come out of this. It's going to be fine. We're a good baseball team. It's all going to happen. But while you go through it, you got to sit in some discomfort with it, and that doesn't feel good. And again, that's not at all what fans want to hear, but that's what the players have to tell each other, that because if they're freaking out and thinking like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever, they're not going to get out of it. Like you kind of almost have to reverse psychology yourself to get into the point of psychologize. That was a good one, right? To where your point where you're getting yourself to be in a good mental space, that whether you won 10-0 or lost 10-0 the day before, whether you're on a 10-game winning streak or you're on a 10-game losing streak, you can still go out and do the job and do it, because this is a game that it's every single day, and you're going to have great days and you're going to have bad days, and you have to go out and perform. And again, that's not what fans want to hear. Fans want to go 162-0, and I get that. But like that's why they perform the way they, or that's why they act like the way they do, is to make sure that they are even keel throughout these periods.
That was like an any given Sunday sort of speech.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
The reverse psychologize.
I think so. Andy, you brought up Craig Counsell, and I'm really curious your guys' thoughts. Do you think Counsell getting ejected in Tuesday's game had any impact on the team on Wednesday?
No, not with the timing of when he got ejected to score the situation. No, that was probably Craig just like, fuck this, and standing up for a rookie. But
it's that's like an old hat baseball thing, right? Is like you're in a losing streak, you need to fire your team up, whatever. As a manager, there's only so many things you can control. So one of them might be showing a little fight in a moment, going out and arguing with the umpires, banding the team together against a common enemy, the umpires. It's so difficult to do that now because you have ABS,
right?
These things. So yeah, it's incredible that he ends up going out and doing that and getting ejected, and they win the next night. That's what fans wanted to see. I think it's ridiculous. I don't necessarily think his ejection was ridiculous, but it's ridiculous to like.
Yeah, like they didn't win. Whatever result happened on Wednesday was not going to be a result of what Craig Counsell did or didn't do as an in terms of ejection the night before. like, I mean, if you were trying to like if they had lost yesterday, right, and he does it and gets ejected in the third inning, are they suddenly going to be able to just go off on Paul Skeens? Maybe, but I don't like. It's not a correlation, right? Like what was the Vin Scully quote, that momentum is the next day starting pitcher? Like it's gonna, you're facing Paul Skeens, like it's gonna be tough. In this Fire situation, they have a lot of good rotations where that's gonna happen. I don't think like those things matter as much. Like I mean, sure, like maybe the players want to see that, and definitely the fans want to see that, but like the if you're needing your manager to get ejected and argue to get yourself riled up, then you're probably doing a bad job of getting yourself riled up for a baseball game to begin with. Like you probably have to look at yourself and look at the bigger picture maybe than to motivate yourself if you're relying on Craig Counsell getting ejected in a 12-1 ball game.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just laughing because it's so funny to think, like, can you imagine just Nico Horner and like Bregman and PCA being like, damn, dude, that was awesome by Craig. Like, let's get this one tomorrow in the locker room.
Like, let's try to hit this fastball harder. Like,
those guys are probably like, damn, no, he's right. Like we suck. So actually, you know what? Maybe he did reverse psychologize them. Now that I'm talking through it, he reverse psychologized them and made them realize, like, damn, dude, we do suck right now. We've literally lost 10 in a row. Like, what the
Andy,
fuck?
we're never going to let you live down the fact that you
please don't. As I said, I'm like, oh man, like that was pretty stupid.
I mean, I get it should be a word in all seriousness. It should be.
I mean, it might be. To be honest, I'm the one who, what did I say? Like hard when I was trying to say heard and heard, or I said heard.
You said heard.
Yeah, dude. I said hindsight's 50-50, though. That one I meant to say, so I don't regret that at all. I know it's 2020. Relax. I digress.
I coin flip is 50-50.
Yeah, I know. I do have. I was looking at when you were talking about Seiya being streaky. This is going back to like 17 minutes ago. I have his numbers from April and May. So in April, he hit 328, or he slashed 328, 430, 567 with a 998 OPS. In May, he's hitting he's slashing 159, 255, 260 with I think that's 594 if I can read my writing. OPS switch.
That's bad.
That's not good.
That's wet. That's a wet
That's
fart.
not good.
Wow. Jeez.
Well, what's crazy is like I don't know. Maybe you guys noticed it more, but like because the offense was doing so well, I guess I didn't realize Say's numbers were that good. Because like the rest of the lineup was kind of producing at that elite level. That's kind of crazy to hear. Just how. So what? But what you're saying is in June he's just gonna rake.
I mean, hopefully. But what's funny is it didn't seem like the whole lineup was on fire besides Michael Bush in March and April. But then in May, or at least during this last stretch here, is that the whole lineup is cold besides Michael Bush. It's like, well, all right, that's cool, but let's maybe just even this out a little bit. If we're gonna take breaks, let's do like 50-50. Let's do hindsight 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, was that the 23 season where Jed talked about how the entire lineup slumped all at one time? That was the 23 season, right? And it's like they had like a month, 6-week stretch where the lineup did this. Right now, it's been a shorter stretch, but again, we'll see how they come out of this. But I am really curious from your guys' perspective. Like, does this change? Does this losing streak? What's the big picture ramifications? Does it change anything for how you guys view the 26 Cubs, and who are the 26 Cubs? Are they the team that went 20-3 during a stretch? Or are they the team that lost 10 in a row? I think we all will probably agree that they're somewhere in between. But like, does this losing streak? Kyle, we'll start with you. Like, does that change? Does it change something?
Yeah, I don't know how you could say it doesn't, right? And I think maybe this is an old Bill Parcells quote, and if not, that's going to suck. But you are what your record says you are. And right now, are they in last? Are they in fourth right now with that win yesterday?
They're fourth. The Pirates are in last, yeah.
And I know with the extra wild card, there might be a half game out or whatever the case is. But yeah, when you go from the best record in baseball to not even in the playoffs, like you just are what your record says you are. And right now, they're not a good team. They're not a great team compared to what they were 2 or 3 weeks ago.
But like even moving forward, like as 4 months are left, like how do you rectify like this team that could be the best team in baseball, like you said, or the worst team for a couple? Like, what are you expecting, Kyle, for the next 4 months?
Honestly, I don't know how anybody can know. Like, again, I'll go back to the 39 game stretch with 2 10-game winning streaks and a 10-game losing streak. Like, what did you say? In either like 23 and 17 in their last 40
22 and 17 in the last 39 with
39. So like, it's a matter of, it's not the fact that that's their record. It's how they got there that scares me. And that's what Andy was saying earlier. Maybe, I don't know if you jumped off for a sec or not, but it's how they got there that scares me. And the fact that that's how they got to that record, it just gives me hesitation moving forward. And I feel like I'm like the biggest optimist about this shit. But at the same time, when you lose 10 in a row and the offense goes cold and the starting pitching and everybody's getting hurt and or struggling, like, well, yikes. I don't know. I wouldn't put all my eggs in the basket of the Cubs making the postseason. I'll tell you that right now.
I think there will be a postseason team. I know I like to joke in our group chat like, oh, like the Cubs have some interesting pieces to sell, and like if it really collapses,
yeah,
like
you love that shit.
Oh, that's a great bit. But I think obviously, like if it does totally wheels fall apart, and this is who they are, the 10-game losing streak, like there is some interesting pieces to sell, but I don't know if you can justify selling. Just given what they have done, that's a bigger picture that I think is maybe like in the like 5 or the 4 percentile of actually happening. So I'm not even really going to go there. I think this is a playoff team, and I like the reason I say that is because once you get past this Cardinal stretch, this division stretch, the schedule becomes a little bit more favorable. You play I was going to say Oakland, the Athletics. The West Sacramento Athletics, who are in first place, yes, but in a weak division.
Sacramento.
Yeah, they're definitely just the Athletics, but they're in West Sacramento. The stadium's in West Sacramento.
I've never heard anybody say West. I mean, I've heard like people joke the Sacramento A's. I've never heard anybody say the West Sacramento A's.
Well, that's what if you're going to joke about Sacramento, it should be West Sacramento because that's where they're at.
You're going to joke, do it right.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, if you're going to joke, be logical. Be geographically accurate.
Right,
is there an East Sacramento?
I don't know. I don't know if there's East Sacramento.
Okay, I digress. I don't know. So who do the Cubs play besides the West Sacramento A's?
The Athletics, the Giants, who have not looked great. Then they go to Colorado, where if the offense is still like kind of an up and down stretch, perfect time to go to Colorado, right? Crush some balls with the altitude.
Give up 30.
Right, like that's gonna be 32 to 30 scoring series. It's gonna be insane. Then they go back to San Francisco.
1 second. I just thought about Jameson Tayo, Shota Imanaga, and all these guys in Colorado.
And Jordan Wicks. Those three.
Yeah.
That's going to be your 3 starters. That's going to be, you know what? You're going to pay off your mortgage. You're just going to put money on the over and just ding, 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 ding.
I didn't mean to derail you.
No, you're good. You're good. Colorado and San Francisco, and then you come back, you play Colorado. So like the schedule becomes a little bit, it's a little bit of a softer landing. It's still, again, like I said, the Athletics are in first place. They're a surprising good team. It's a stretch to like kind of get your bearings back. You have Matthew Boyd coming back. I'm just curious, like if they're able to justify going all in. Like I think it's clear the biggest name that's going to be on the market at the trade market is Tarik Skubal. I don't think they're going to be able to play in that market because they don't have the prospect up to swing a trade. Not to mention, like, you kind of just don't know what you're getting in 2 months of Skubal because, like, let's face it, he's only going to be in Chicago for 2 months if they traded for him. He's not re-signing here. So are you giving that up? And maybe you're getting a guy, maybe you're getting the Cy Young Award winner from the past 2 seasons, or maybe you're getting a guy who is just going to cover some, like, you just don't know what you're going to get, right?
You don't think the Cubs would have any shot at re-signing him?
When have they played in the Scott Boras high-end free agent market? Like they didn't even talk to Juan Soto. Like I just don't think they do it.
That's true. Yeah, that's probably true, but they spent big on Bregman, which kind of surprised all of us.
Yeah, but that's like the 4-foot end of the pool, not like the 10-foot end where Skubal will be swimming.
They're not diving for diving sticks in the absolute deep end. Yeah.
Yeah. That
diving
was a
sticks.
Great comparison. Great comparison, Kyle. Yeah. So like I don't think they're gonna sell the farm for 2 months of a questionable Tarik Skubal. And so like then it becomes like are they just making additions like they made last year, right? Like are they trying to find a Michael Soroka type player or
he shoved last night.
He's been great. He's been great this season. He pitched 2 innings for them last year, right? Like is that what the trade market is going to be? Like I mean, if you asked me 2.5 weeks ago, I would have thought they would be potentially making a move at Skubal or some of these other teams that have.
Yeah.
Who would they even trade for Skubal? Like, were you going to go with Jackson?
Like Jackson, Wiggins, probably Matt Shaw.
Yeah, I think they have some pieces depending on how you view. We can get into a bigger trade deadline discussion as it gets closer, but I think they have some pieces because where is Pedro Ramirez going to go? Is Kevin Alcantara or Matt Shaw one of your starting corner outfielders next year? Jefferson Rojas, Jackson Wiggins, like you have some pieces. I feel like that because of your contracts at the big league level, re-signing Nico and that, like you feel good about these positions, and you don't really have a place for them to play. So I feel like there are some guys you could trade, but Jackson Wiggins probably would have to be in anything because a team's going to want giving up a pitcher. They're probably going to want a pitcher in return, and I don't know what Wiggins' value is because he can't stay healthy. He's not been on the mound consistently in his entire career. I don't even know.
He's throwing bullpens. Yeah, his latest update. Megan Montemir, a couple other reporters that were in Pittsburgh updated that he's throwing bullpens in Arizona, but there's still no timeline for his return.
See you, Kyle. I know you got to jump. Wiggins?
You guys keep going.
All right. What's Wiggins' injury right now? Is it a shoulder? I can't remember.
It was a shoulder. Like it was very vague. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's obviously Wiggins is concerning overall, but I do agree with you that like. It's the roller coaster of like wondering what they're going to do at the deadline or what they should do. Should they push their chips all in? The impending lockout or strike or whatever they're going to end up terming this as plays a role. I think absolutely. I just think though, like it's kind of the beauty of the game is the roller coaster and the fact that there's a 10-game winning streak and 3-game losing streak and a 10-game winning streak, and then they basically trade wins and losses and then lose 10 in a row. And it's like it's been a really entertaining first 2 months of the season, and we're only halfway to the trade deadline. So like the next 2 months will obviously tell us. Yeah, right. Yeah, they're only like, they're only 30%, 34% of the way through the season, and like the next 2 months leading into the trade deadline will really obviously solidify and tell us where they're at. Who knows how many 10-game winning streaks or losing streaks they'll put up in the next 2 months? Probably none. But like you just never know.
I posed this to Kyle when your internet or Riverside whatever it is. If you went back in March and you looked at the stretch of the schedule where they were playing the Phillies and the Mets and starting division play, and you said, hey, they're going to go 23-17 over these 40 games, you probably sign up for that, right? Like above 500. But if you say there was 2 10-game winning streaks in there, like, and a 10-game losing streak, that's when you're kind of like, well, what the heck? Like, what is this?
Well, yeah, and I think it's the opponents too, right? Like the 4 wins against the Reds were huge, but I believe during the winning streaks, was that the only divisional team that they swept was the
Yeah,
4-game sweep of the Reds, and then I
because
mean losing. Go ahead.
they'd only played the Pirates in division before that.
Right, yeah. So, but like getting swept by the Brewers, massive. Losing the first 2 to the Pirates to finish up this 10-game losing streak, massive. Like that carries a lot of weight. Obviously, the 1 win against the Pirates, and we'll see what they do against Skeens tonight on Thursday, and how they fare in St. Louis. But yeah, I do agree, and I think the big picture, if the Cubs were 5 games over 500 and in a playoff position and had spent time in first place, and like you said, rattled off some winning streaks and carried 60+% odds of making the playoffs at this point in the season, I would have taken that at the beginning of the year. So it's just how they got here. That's what I'm saying. Like the journey is it's fun, and I think it's fun for us to like chronicle, because everybody, no matter what good happens the rest of the year, everybody is going to remember the pain of watching this team during a 10-game losing streak, because there's pain as a fan, there's pain as the players and coaches going through it, and there's pain from our perspective of the media of like, oh my God, we got to like watch this because we talk about it on podcasts, we cover them, in person, and our various freelancing opportunities. Like we're like, we got to stay locked in. And I mean, there was how many times, Andy, did we just say like, in our chat between me, you, and Kyle, and like, I don't want to watch this anymore. Oh, they're down 3-0 early. Turn it off. We know how this is going to go. It's nuts, but it's like, but it is fun, and this is also part of the reason why like I love baseball is you just never know what to expect. I never would have anticipated even one 10-game winning streak or a 10-game losing streak this year. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there were times during the winning streak, and I remember Jameson Taillon even said it, like one of the Reds games where they were down late, and it's like, it just feels like we're going to come back and win. Like, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. And it definitely felt like that. And then during that 10-game losing streak, when they went down early, it was like, it felt like, well, this game's over. Second inning, but this game's over. They're not winning. It's wild just how quickly things change in this game. But it's also the margins of the major leagues, right? Like, they're practically all of these teams are really good and can beat whoever on any given day. Right. You look at the Phillies, right? They took 5 of 6 against the Phillies, and it's like, man, you're probably glad you played the Phillies then and not now, because the Phillies look a lot better and are kind of like regaining their mojo. And that's what's funny is like maybe you look back at the end of the season and you say, oh, the 10-game losing streak, like look who they had to go up against. Like maybe that's one thing that you look back on. But while you're going through that, you don't know it, and you just know that the journey is just absolutely wild and absolutely, as a fan, frustrating, right? You don't want to see your team lose one game. You don't want to lose them see 2. You definitely don't want to see them lose 10 in a row. And I was definitely starting to think like the franchise record was 14 losses. I was definitely thinking like they might actually break that, because it looked so bleak, and who they were up against, who was on the road,
Yeah.
who's coming down the line. Like they are definitely very happy that they got the win on Wednesday night.
Well, yeah, absolutely, and it just felt as much as any time, any time including that 2021 streak that we lived through as well, right? Every living and dying and with every pitch and seeing all that, it felt like it was they were gonna lose on a nightly basis. Like I don't know how to explain it, but it just felt like everything was going wrong. But I was saying last night, like watching the game, I mean, sometimes it is like a little bit of baseball luck, and people don't always want to hear that. But like for 10 games, that home run that Ian Happ hit to put them ahead for good goes foul. And then all of a sudden he keeps it fair for 1 game and they win, right? And that was not fair by much. That was fair by 10, 15 feet. And sometimes that's all it takes is just some of that baseball luck. Right before him, Alex Bregman hit that ball down the left field line. Like for 10 games, or even 2 weeks, that ball goes foul or is caught by Brian Reynolds or whatever. And instead, it loops down, so to speak, and it's a double, and then Ian Happ follows with a home run. And it's like, sometimes things just kind of go your way. And for a long stretch, they just weren't going the Cubs' way. But I will say there were just a lot of like concerning aspects of the losing streak. And I feel like one that is really like carrying over for me is Jameson Taillon, the home run ball. He's given up 19 this year. He's on pace for 58, 59 allowed. The MLB record is 50 that Bert Blyleven in the 80s. So Jameson Taillon, I mean, Andy, what did the Cubs do with him at this point? Obviously, like he's
Well,
never
he's got to
given
stay
up
in the
home runs.
rotation.
He absolutely has to stay in the rotation. But like, how long do you keep going with this? And like, what happens moving forward? Because like, you can't give home runs up at a clip like this and continue to go out there every fifth day. But I agree with you. I mean, like, who the heck would replace him? Like, I don't feel good about Jordan Wicks or Javier Assad both being in the rotation over JMO.
No, yeah, and that's the tricky thing is like, and I would argue even when Matthew Boyd's going on a rehab assignment this weekend with the Iowa Cubs, he's probably still going to need a few at least rehab outings, and even if you rush it, like I would argue you probably still have to keep JMO in the rotation when Matthew Boyd comes in. So like they have to figure something out, and there's been stretches in his Cubs career where it's looked really bleak or it's looked really really tough, and he's made adjustments and made them and come out of it the right way. Like I think to last year where he was the Cubs' best starter in the playoffs, right? Like I think there's a path and there's track record, but it is concerning because of the volume that it's at, right? It's just really really tough to watch, and you worry because the summer's here. Like, right, we've had some beautiful days in Chicago. The wind's going to be blowing out a lot more. A lot of these fly balls are going to start going out even more. So that's what's concerning. You have to trust the track record that he's going to bounce back, but it's fair to wonder, like, well, what's his leash like when Matthew Boyd comes back and maybe they make some additions at the trade deadline? Like, what kind of starts happening? He needs to figure it out. He knows he needs to figure it out, but it's definitely concerning because, like, yeah, at this point, like, I would take it that he's going to break the home run record, which is not a record that you want to break for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's a White Sox game that really changed things because he had, I think it was going into that start, he had like a 3.90 ERA and a 1.1 WHIP on the season. Like he was having a solid year, and you would take that from your 4 or 5 starter. He's had to be kind of thrust into maybe sort of like the 2 or 3 role for much of the year because of the injuries. Kid Horton out,
Right.
Matthew Boyd out for much of the year. Edward Cabrera has not pitched well, but then he gives up 5 home runs on the south side, and then it just like, all hell breaks loose with home runs. That things would look a lot different when you have 5 home runs in a start. That's gonna clearly change things, especially only 2 months in the year. But yes, it is happening pretty consistently that he is giving up at least 1 home run in every outing. And yeah, you just can't do that. But I think it's like I don't trust anybody in the rotation outside of Ben Brown right now. Shota Imanaga is giving up home runs at an alarming pace again too, and just he's had some command issues at times, like against the Brewers 2 starts ago. Colin Ray has a 5 ERA in May. He's pitching tonight, Thursday, so we'll see if that changes or gets worse. Edward Cabrera was arguably the worst member of the rotation for 8 starts before he went on the IL. Like he gave up, I think, at least 3 runs in all 8. Jordan Wicks came up and struggled immediately. Assad, I think, is a solid pitcher, but like he's not a guy that's going to come up and save your season. So I mean, where would they be without Ben Brown? I don't know, but like this rotation, that's kind of the thing that actually sticks with me from the losing streak is I feel like the bullpen's actually been pretty solid. The lineup, we all know they're not going to hit 110 with runners in scoring position the rest of the year. We all know they're not going to hit 190 overall. Like they're going to do better than that. These guys have proven track records. It was a slump that just all slumped collectively. The thing that concerns me the most is this rotation because as you said, we've seen this from JMO before. We've seen this from Shota before. We've seen this from Colin Ray before. We've seen this from Jordan Wicks before. In baseball, not on the Cubs, we've seen this from Edward Cabrera before. And we haven't really seen this from Ben Brown consistently before. So will it stick? Will it continue? So the rotation has me concerned the most about the next month or so, next few weeks at least, is like how do they really sustain a good stretch? And that's how they got on their winning streaks. Was this rotation was firing on all cylinders? Everybody was pitching well and going deep into games. I'm as concerned as I've ever been about this rotation and moving forward. I don't know how they resolve it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just going to be adjustments that every team does throughout a season. It's going to be adjustments that every pitcher does throughout the season, and I think it's going to. I don't think it's going to happen overnight, right? Like if Colin Ray struggles Thursday, I won't be shocked. But if he figures that out in 2 or 3 outings and he's kind of back to who he has been in his second tenure as a Cub, I won't be surprised by that either. Kind of same thing with JMO, but like that is what's concerning because like for as solid overall as your record is, which it is, right? 32 wins and was it 27 losses? 26 losses. That's a really good pace. You're 4.5 games back behind the Brewers, and yeah, it's early. No one really looks at the standings in May, is what Pat Murphy said. But like, you can definitely dig yourself enough of a hole early on in the season that either A, you can't get back in the division, or it gets really, really tough to get back in the division. And this was a team that was built not to be a wild card team, not to be a 3 seed or a 4 seed in the wild card, but to be, or excuse me, a 4 or 5 seed in the wild card, but to be one of the top 3 seeds, one of the top 2 seeds that's bypassing that 3-game wild card, lotto ticket, whatever you want to call it, and getting into a 5-game series where they can rest and get themselves lined up to try and go into a deep October run. And right now it's looking like they're going to have to go through that 3-game wild card. And as you mentioned, with that rotation, I don't think you're looking forward to a 3-game series in the playoffs.
No, I don't think so for sure. And that's where like the injuries have really finally kind of hit them. Like we thought with the Hort injury and Matthew Boyd, obviously this is his second time on the IL, but like some of the stuff that hit the Cubs pitching staff, we were like, oh man, this is going to impact them. It just was delayed. It took a while.
Yeah.
It hit them right away. And that's, I think, a good sign for the team is that they were able to like stack up a bunch of wins when they were sort of hurting the most. And, as we said, Matthew Boyd's like on the cusp of returning at least very soon, sometime in the next couple of weeks, you feel like. And Edward Cabrera, they think might be just a minimum stint dealing with the blister. But I think the bigger thing is like getting him right and, getting him effective again. That's like the biggest part.
Yeah, I was gonna say with Cabrera, like the blister that happens to a lot of pitchers throughout the season. Usually, you kind of, especially with the 15-day IL, you come back and you're fine. But what's concerning is the velo's down. The changeup isn't as crisp as it was in Miami. He's had elbow injuries in the past. Like there's bigger concerns than like, oh, the blister and he's not pitching right now. The concerns are like, well, what are you getting when he comes back?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like it's the pitching depth that has been tested, and what do they do from here? I mean, they will, I think, add, like you said earlier in the pod, like you were joking about them selling. I don't think they're going to sell. I do think they're going to add, but at what level do they add? And as you talked about, like, are they going to add pitchers that may actually impact? Be guys that you can turn to stop skids and impact the team in September down the stretch, or in a wild card series or a 5-game NLDS or whatever. It's going to be really interesting. I'm really curious to see how the rest of the season plays out. In a way, this 10-game losing streak makes me almost like more interested, because I just feel like there's such a wide array of outcomes possible for this team, and like it's interesting. It's fun. It's crazy. It's frustrating at times. It's amazing at other times. So I just think I'm really curious to see where things go. But Andy, before we wrap up here, any other like kind of big picture thoughts coming out of this losing streak?
Not. It's funny you mentioned the bullpen, because like it feels like every year they do this, right? Where it's like you're like, who are these guys? What are they getting? Oh, these guys the one guy you signed isn't working, right? Like Hunter Harvick, Phil Maton aren't working. Last year it was Brazier and Presley that weren't really working. And then they kind of figure it out, and it's like, how do they keep doing it? And I'm curious, like, I don't know where you're going to get out of Hunter Harvey. Obviously, with there's a lot of question marks with that injury, but like if and when you start getting like when Phil Maton really starts turning it back on and like starts figuring it out, when some of the other guys that are on the IL start coming back, like, well, like this might be a better bullpen than we pictured, and if you go out and maybe that is a good area to add a power arm or another option, like then you're shortening games, which obviously in the playoffs is so crucial. And that was just one takeaway that you touched on earlier, that I think the bullpen has surprised even during the stretch. Now it's different when you're pitching in a 10-game losing streak and you're never pitching in leverage situations, but it still is important. It still is key for bullpen arms to come in and essentially keep the score where it is. Like that in a way is a proving ground for a lot of relievers.
Yeah, and they've been active. They keep searching. They just signed Aaron Bummer to a minor league deal, and he really struggled with the Braves earlier this year, but he was awesome for the White Sox. Stretches in his career too. So they're looking all over to try to add help wherever they can in this beleaguered pitching staff. But Andy, we're gonna wrap here. Thanks as always for everybody for tuning in and watching the Windy City Breakdown. We'll be here to capture all of the Cubs roller coaster moments for the rest of the year. So make sure you're tuning in and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. For Andy and Kyle, I'm Tony. Thanks for tuning in.